move over Brat Green summer. It's now Grinch Green winter. That's right. Glenn Powell, Khloe Kardashian, and Steph Curry all dressed up like the Grinch this year.
Whoa.
Yeah. Can you believe that trio?
Okay, wait.
Glenn Powell,
Khloe Kardashian.
Khloe Kardashian,
Who's the last one?
and Steph Curry.
Okay.
All independently. There's photo proof of this. All independently dressed like the Grinch this year. I thought
Khloe's Grinch booty must be popping.
oh my, you should see it. Oh my God, there's some photos that TMZ has that I've never seen anything like it before in my life. She went and tiptoed into, I think, her mom's bedroom and grabbed a Birkin bag with her little, Grinch fingers or whatever to imply that Grinch is stealing the gifts this year. And
I was watching Pop Culture Jeopardy, is that what it's called, last night on Amazon, and the ruse of the answer to the question was the Birkin bag, but they framed it as that Kyle Richards has a buttload of these.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, so Kyle got to get the full acclaim, the Birkin shine. Like she's the one who has the most Birkins in the world.
They also did a Luann one where you had to quote, be cool, don't be all like uncool. Like
Whoa.
You had to, it wasn't like who said this, it was like what did she say?
Wow, what is this program? Pop Culture Jeopardy on Amazon? Who hosts it?
Colin Jost.
Colin Jost. Colin Jost hosts Pop Culture Jeopardy on Amazon?
Yeah, I'm not generally a fan of his. I am always like, he's annoying, but he does a good job on it.
I
It's
like
totally
him.
Fine.
I like Colin Jost. I think he gets a bad rap. People think he's smug and like an Ivy League guy that you want to pull his underwear up over his head. But I watched Saturday Night Live during, the last 2 or 3 seasons, and I think Colin Jost has a good sense of humor, and I'm proud of him.
Good. Well, I think you'll like it then. He's kind of funny. Like he's pretty dry, and it's funny.
Good. I didn't know that at all. Well, that's amazing. I might watch that.
It's an easy thing to throw on. Like when me and Jimmy can't decide or agree, it's like an easy thing because he likes Jeopardy and I like pop culture. So it's like a mix,
Oh, that's so fun. Is it pop culture spectrum? Is it like Bravo? And then like how much of the wide swath of pop culture does it get?
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that I'm just like, never mind, like Marvel.
Oh, right.
And like some like, I feel like music stuff is a little hard for me depending on how specific it gets, where I'm like, I don't even know who that is.
This man made of iron is a superhero.
Exactly. But some of the questions are so specific. Like there was a Sex in the City one where I was like, damn, like I had to think about that one. Like it was like Carrie Bradshaw running to the ferry says this when her shoe falls off. And it's when she makes a little pun where she goes, I lost my chew, because they're Jimmy Choos. And I was like, that's like, I can imagine it. It's the John Slattery episode, but I'm like, that's like hardcore.
Wow, that's awesome. So did you not get that one?
I had to think too long. That's my problem with Jeopardy is like I could never play in the, play the show for real as a contestant because I can't hit the buzzer that fast.
Me neither. I would be the exact same way. I'd be hitting the buzzer and it would be like the show is over. Like for the first time you did. I'm not quick at all like that.
Yeah,
My reflexes or whatever, I would be, completely left in the lurch. Well, that's interesting. I mean, that all sounds like good pop culture news to me. The Grinch stuff was pretty good. Pop culture Jeopardy I just found out about with Colin Jost, who I like. But then, unfortunately, I would say pop culture took a huge shit over the weekend because it's we're recording this on a Monday. It's early in the week, and over the weekend, a lot of horrible shit happened. So I'll preface this by saying that the James Kennedy news came out maybe right after you and I recorded our last Turtle Time episode. So the first opportunity we got to record was actually for Patreon.
Yeah.
So we had a full, it was 2 hours after the news broke. So we had our first sort of reactions to the news, and it was raw and unfiltered. And would you say it was raw?
Raw, baby.
It was raw, straight from the horse's mouth, no filter, purely Patreon stuff.
Paywalled.
And total paywall, because we were worried about what we were saying. We thought that like who was going to knock on our doors and arrest us. Yeah. So we had to keep a lot of that commentary to Patreon, but we're still going to talk about it a little bit because a lot of stuff has developed in the James Kennedy world since we had our 30-minute conversation on Patreon. So do you want to say what we've learned since then?
Sure. So yeah, if anyone's been living under a rock, James got arrested for domestic violence in Burbank at home. Allie, what new thing we found out is that there was a police report in which, because originally we just heard that it was because a neighbor called and it was based off of what the neighbor said, but the actual report, Allie said to the police that came into the house that he picked her up and threw her on the ground. So it was like fucking horrible. And there were photos today of her like taking all of her shit and leaving, and it said that they were taking space. It didn't say like breakup, but it said like taking some time apart. And there was a litter box I saw, so taking her cat, and
saving Mr. Banks.
Exactly. That should be the headline.
Right?
That would be SEO gold. No, it would be confusing, I guess, because people would be like, Disney movie, Emma Thompson, Tom Hanks, and then it would be like James Kennedy.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare, but at least people would get to possibly be led to watching Saving Mr. Banks, which is a very good movie.
Do you actually like that movie?
I actually, I've never seen it. I've never seen it, actually.
You know who's in that, I think? Jason Schwartzman.
Oh, I love when he pops his little head into something that I'm watching.
He's in Queer. He plays a Ginsbergian character.
Ginsbergian. Oh, Alan. Speaking of like a beat poet, Allen Ginsberg.
He wears a fat suit, which I'm like, are we still doing that?
Oh my! I can't even imagine. You're kind of blowing my mind. I was just watching some animated movie and I heard a voice and it was Jason Schwartzman. So I was like, wow, really? He is just like everywhere.
Working.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't talk about that movie because it's like, kind of hard to talk about because it's very like arty and like visual, but maybe I'll bring it up on the Southern Charm next time we talk about Southern Charm, because there's an extended ayahuasca scene that I was thinking of Shep the whole time.
Oh, that is amazing. Okay, yes, please bring it up next time we talk about Southern Charm. But what you were saying was...
Yeah, so taking space, I think the last we heard from James's side was that he was going to investigate the police for the ridiculous claim and that he had to pay, $20,000 bond or bail or whatever. But I think he's kind of just fucked. Like, I don't know what further evidence anyone would need,
Yeah, so when we first talked, it was sort of like he got arrested for domestic violence. It already seemed like the worst thing in the world that you could ever do. Instantly disqualifies you from, being in the entertainment industry, I guess, for a while. Like, we were just pretty hard on even knowing the fact that he was arrested for domestic violence. Since then, to hear what the actual incident report was, it's like now there's no air of even mystery about it. Like, he grabbed her for 1 second and like, this is like I'm not being a comedic comparison, but like you could have imagined it. Like, it's like, do you remember Home Alone 2 when the clown is in the shower and he's dancing and it's like a silhouette and you don't know what is specifically happening? Before, James Kennedy could have possibly made some allusion like, you don't know what the silhouettes were doing. It was a neighbor who watched it. But then when you hear that Allie specifically said exactly what he did, there's no more mystery. It's domestic violence. It's officially classified as that. I don't know what the fuck LA Confidential investigation he thinks he's going to do into the police department to get this charge dropped, but it's not going to happen. It's just on its face. All of the evidence we have is so bad. And it's there's nothing James can do to try to get this spotlight off him at this time.
He's going to encounter a Guy Pearce style detective that's by the book. He's like, I don't play that game.
I know. Absolutely. That's exactly what happens in LA Confidential. But yeah, and it's, he played a show. I saw he played a show and he was... Yeah, he had a DJ event in I think it was Dallas or something. A lot of his dates were canceled because of this news, but he still was able to have a show, and there were still people in the audience. Like, it was a packed out house. Really? I'm not sure if the domestic violence, I'm not sure how much it's really infiltrated the consciousness of Bravo fans, or they're like, I already got these tickets, and I always thought James was sort of a piece of shit, but I'm still going to go listen to him play the Vanderpump Rules theme song, slowed down or whatever.
Brutal. It's already hard enough to go see Sandoval, even when his crimes are, not the same.
Yes.
And it's also like, if it's not fun, like if you really just like can't separate the art from the artist and the art is shit also, then it's like, what are we even doing?
Yeah. So then, the other piece of this was that Allie initially, that TMZ showed her, like, it almost seemed like there was the possibility that Allie was going to say that this was a misunderstanding. It almost seemed like, because that's happened in the past. We've heard of 2 incidents there. We talked about this, but there was like the Canyon Club thing where he was screaming at her and he had to be escorted out. There was this Teddy and Tamara thing that they witnessed at the MTV Movie Awards where Allie also said, that was a complete misunderstanding. And I almost thought that this was going to be like Allie was going to be able to sort of justify what James did. But I think once you saw the incident report, and I'm sure once her parents and friends all reached out to her going like, this is just objectively bad. No matter what you're used to in this relationship, whatever agreement you both have, whatever you've allowed James to do in the past, this just objectively on paper is a horrible situation. And I feel like that was the final straw that allowed Allie to just be like, I am separating from you and I'm moving to an Airbnb. Which I'm glad. I'm so glad that this wasn't able to be justified in their relationship anymore.
Yeah, I saw. So I think last time we talked, Kristen had already posted the news and said, finally. And then Rachel also posted saying, like the number of times, like in reference to Allie previously saying that it was a misunderstanding. Rachel said the number of times that the shit that he did to me, I tried to tell myself was a misunderstanding. I can't even count, which again, I don't remember if I said this last time, but rewatching the scene where Rachel tells Lisa that James bumped her nose is honestly like horrifying to watch, which I remember it being that way originally. Like, I think that was before we had a podcast, but if we were talking about it that week, I think we would have been like, that's total bullshit. Like, what the fuck really happened? Like, that was what everyone thought. But I forgot that Lisa literally, she goes to Lisa because she was helping her get together with Paul Nassif or whatever to fix her nose job. And she's like, I'm shaking. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to tell you this. And Lisa's like, what? And she's like, oh my God, like, what happened with my nose? She's like, what do you mean? And she's like, oh my God, like, James bumped my nose. And Lisa's like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah,
did he hit you? Like, she literally says that. And she goes, oh, no. Like, he came in really quickly for a kiss. Like, I just want to be very clear, like, unequivocally, he's never put his hands on me like that or whatever. And Lisa's like, okay. Like, but she's so nervous and it's like so weird that you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. You watch it and you're like, it looks like Raquel is going to admit to Lisa that there was like an assault in their relationship, and then she just has to quickly reclassify it as like a quick, really hard kiss or something. Yeah. Which So that also, I mean, that scene looks is taken completely differently with this context now. When you have, when there's smoke, there's fire, I guess is a cliche at this point, but there has been so many now accusations, and 2 ex-girlfriends are now celebrating the fact that this has happened to you, that you've been arrested for domestic violence. It's really, really bad. And the future for James Kennedy, I don't know how, in my mind, this ends your relationship with Bravo and television for a period of time. Like I don't know how cancellation works anymore and what the rules are, but this is almost too much, where I couldn't imagine that, unless there is some internal investigation that proves him innocent. But this seems like it's time for James to take a break. And I said this before, but James doesn't think he has a problem, or maybe he does, but he's used to getting away with it or getting around it, or he does the thing where he grovels and cries and begs for forgiveness, like he's done countless times in the past, and it allows him to keep doing this over and over again because he acts so petulant, not petulant, but just so like almost like a baby that you need to forgive. And he gets out of a lot of wrongdoing by reverting to that childlike persona. And that whole cycle needs to be completely broken and dismantled. And he needs to spend a year away from whatever his triggers are, if it's the entertainment industry, if it's DJing, whatever it is, and just fully rehabilitate himself and figure out the root of the trauma that causes him to treat women like absolute shit. And then even beyond that, speaking to them like that, but then also now physically hurting them in a way that where people look at it and they go, what the fuck is going on in this relationship between these two people?
Yeah, I'll be curious. I mean, I wonder if, because we were talking about the reactions, like comparing what Sandoval faced versus what James is facing or will face. And it still doesn't seem that the punishment matches the crime, but I wonder if it's partially because it's so dark and sad that it's not as fun to be like, you fucking piece of shit motherfucker, like scumbag and cheaters. Like, I feel like the cheating thing, it got so out of hand, but it's also just kind of like, because it felt like a little more like outrageous or like shocking and scandalous. The fact that it was like an affair with like another cast member was a little more fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas this like isn't fun to talk about. Like, it just sucks.
Right.
So it's like, you can be like, he's a piece of shit. We've always known he's a piece of shit, but it's also just ultimately sad across the board. So it's like, you're not like, haha, worm with a mustache, like blah, blah, blah. Like, you can't really like run with it.
You're right. It completely, like, our whole lens of looking at these Bravo celebrities and their crimes is completely skewed when someone actually does an illegal crime. That's one of the worst things you can ever do. And we're even contemplating whether or not we think that Sandoval is worse than James at this point. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. James did something undeniably horrible that, he should have to account for the rest of his life.
Yeah, it would be interesting to watch the reunion again, because I do remember that there were moments when you could tell that Tom was like on the verge of saying something about James, that I think he was just like, the world is so against me right now. I don't even have the capacity or like bandwidth to navigate opening that Pandora's box, like it got shut down. Like, James was like, I was a kid. Remember, he kept being like, I was a little baby. Like, everything I did doesn't matter because I was young. Like, he kept just being like, fuck off, worm. And I'm like, what would have happened if he would have been like, I grew really close with Rachel and she told me everything, bitch.
I feel like Tom Sandoval felt that way the entire reunion and purposefully didn't try to ruin James's life, even when James was raining hell upon him. I'm sure he knows about these accusations. I'm sure he heard about this from Rachel. I'm sure he knows that footage never aired where James allegedly might have hit Kristen. I'm sure he knows all this shit. So the fact that he was so indignant in the face of James is, he's like, you're a much worse person than me. I don't care what the internet says. I don't care what Bravo fans say. You've done much worse than me, and I'm purposefully not bringing that up because I'm not going to ruin your life.
Yeah, I was like, the internet, I've been reading a lot of comments and stuff, and people are like, Tom will do anything but break bro code. And I was like, I don't know if it was about bro code as much as like, that's also an issue for the show. Like, that's almost like, you're like, yeah. Do you go there? It's like when on Roni, when they started talking about cocaine, you were like, are you allowed to talk about this? Like, stop.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, it's like the reunion is for 99% of what is within the realm of the reality of the show, and you don't normally bring things up like that. So I feel like Tom Sandoval was just playing within the realms of what they'd covered on the show and wouldn't want to bring that up. But it's interesting what you said, why the reaction seems so muted to this versus what the hell Sandoval got. I guess it was just, you're right, it was so much more fun and entertaining, and it's more of a Bravo scandal, whereas this is a real life horrible scandal that no one really wants to reckon with. And it completely shatters the illusion that people had built up about James, because people spent 2 years, and you and I were very skeptical of this, people spent 2 years being like, I'll take 2 poo-poo head shirts, please. And, oh, I love when he called him a worm with a mustache, even though both of those insults were so lame. I can say that now. But yeah, so I don't know. It's just, it's you're right. It's not fun.
No, like the first one, Sandoval was like soap opera. Like it felt like, like some crazy thing that happened on TV kind of a thing that you could watch play out in real time. And yeah, this just sucks. And then meanwhile, so like, I assume James is absolutely spiraling without having the income and the platform of the show. So I know he's always been violent and rageful always, but I assume this isn't helping. And then God knows if he's like, people were saying at Kathy Hilton's party, he was seeming like maybe he was drinking or something like that, potentially. So like, who knows what the fuck is going on there. Then we had Schwartz and Sandy's announce their closing a few weeks ago, right before the announcement that the show was ending. And now Sandoval, his girlfriend posted last night or 2 nights ago, if you're listening to this, like a notes app Instagram that was like, a tiger never changes his stripes. I should have known. He apparently loves to go for the best friend, like implying that like he fucked her best friend the way he fucked Rachel. And then it was like, I am devastated and blindsided or something like that. And then he went live in like the middle of the night. He was like drinking Coors Light and ripping cigs. Like, I think someone said it was like 6 a.m. or something, like extremely late, which means only one thing. And he was like, yeah, I don't know why she posted that. And then he was like, another part, he was like, I had to watch it in piecemeal across all of the fan accounts because I was not awake at that time. But God bless the people that screen record. You are doing God's work. He was like, she made a huge mistake. And he's just like walking through his house and you're like, what the fuck is happening? Then this morning she posts again saying, oh my God, like I had a huge error in judgment. The internet was messing with my head. He didn't do anything wrong. Like, please, like, respect him. Like, I didn't mean what I said. And I was like, what the hell is happening? This is like a nightmare. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, they were at a Bush concert in Chicago. And I was thinking like, oh my gosh, like you're at a Bush concert, you're listening to the most beautiful music you've ever heard.
He's
Glycerin.
a cheater too.
Who?
Gavin, he cheated on Gwen.
Oh my God, that's him. Gavin Rossdale. Oh my God. I never listened to Bush, so I put on 10 seconds of Glycerin or whatever, and I was like, this is one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life. And then I didn't know the names of any of their other songs. But imagine you're Victoria and Tom, and apparently he just got them backstage, like in She Loves Bush or whatever.
Huh?
And then I think that there must have been a fight, or maybe Victoria looked at her phone and some like fake rumor came up or something. But then that led her to spiral, thinking that Tom Sandoval cheated on her for about 3 hours. Maybe she ran out into the streets of Chicago. And then once that became, I guess Tom Sandoval must have been like, hey, what you read was fake, or I didn't actually have sex with your best friend. But they also, in the interim, they deleted each other. Like they went full, I think she blocked Tom Sandoval. He removed all of his photos of her. So there must have been like a significant amount of time between the cheating accusation and then
so
realizing
old. Like, please, if I'm acting like that in my 40s, please, like, put me in a ditch. Like, I cannot deal. And I saw also that in Chicago, I think he was there doing like a sort of comedy, like VPR trivia type thing, and he FaceTimed Sheena on stage, and she answered. And
no
was
way.
Like, I thought she doesn't talk to him, and she was like, "Hey,
hey, best friend." Oh my gosh, she gets totally busted. Everyone's,
people were gonna see that, right?
Wow, that's really interesting. Wow, I didn't hear that part of it. Yeah, it made me sad. People don't like Tom Sandoval, obviously. We don't like him. He's horrible, but it made me sad that he's dealing with this kind of shit. I was so, I thought Victoria and him might have like had a real good spark maybe towards the beginning.
Really?
I did. I was like, I'm an optimist. I had a glass half full. I was like, I don't think anything nefarious about this, but unfortunately, I think I've witnessed now 3 or 4 very odd decisions that Victoria has made during her relationship with Tom Sandoval. And I think it probably would be for the best for them both to part ways amicably before anything else happens.
Yeah, they're giving Sid and Nancy. I wonder, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I won't say any alleged type things, but I'm just saying if you're live on Instagram at 6 a.m. and it's not because you're getting up early and going on a hike, then some fucked up shit is happening.
You
in your
think?
house.
I'm kind of more, I'm more like, I don't know. I used to stay up and I wasn't.
Till 6?
I mean, not 6. No, not 6. But if you have, if you have an amazing night. No, okay. All right. No, I'll allow for the possibility that, maybe something was artificially stimulating them to keep them up at night. But I also could just imagine this being like you're at a Bush concert, you're riding high. You just got to meet Gavin Rossdale. I can imagine a world where he seems like a total night owl. 6 a.m. to him, it's like, that's when he might just go to sleep. 6 a.m. to like
pattern. He needs to get it together. When I say it past like 2, I'm like, you're gonna die.
Yeah. Is it worth it all trying to like imagine what happened?
People. Okay, here's a question. I saw 2 different tweets. Do you say we need Andy and a camera, or do you say please God no?
I say no. I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. I say no. I mean, they can't pick up filming because like who's gonna do it? Alex Baskin's like, no, I'm not filming any of this garbage.
Special.
But I also think it's so funny that Victoria is the one who brought it to light that Tom Sandoval might have cheated on her, and then she came back and said, "Please respect him for the love of God." I can't believe what I wrote. It's like we're only hearing from you. You just ruined his reputation again. Like. Yeah. I didn't know what the hell Tom Sandoval was doing for the last. And I saw this one thing that Lisa, I think it's true, but it was like someone asked Lisa Vanderpump. She was like, "How did the cast react to the news that you fired all their asses?" And Lisa goes, "I expected them to be, kicking up shit and running around screaming more than they actually did." And I was like, I don't know. I think they kind of are. I mean, right? Like it seems like chaos is brewing right now with the cast. Post. Announcement, but
yeah. What's her name? I just want to see if she said anything else.
Victoria Lee Robinson. Yeah, I just think that Tom Sandoval. I think that this might not be. I don't know him at all.
Did she get rid of her account or something?
Yeah, I think she put it on private so that we couldn't look at it anymore. And that might be why somebody said that Tom Sandoval unfollowed Victoria, because I think if you block someone, it says that they're unfollowed. Right. But anyway, I just think Tom Sandoval, I don't know you, but I just don't think that this probably in life right now, this seems like the best relationship. I don't know if you need to have the Machine Gun Kelly, Megan Fox dynamic right now.
Well, he supposedly cheated on her, too.
No, right. I know. I just mean that, the lighting her tongues on fire.
No, I know.
And like,
I'm just saying they're in trouble, too.
I know. One of my favorite couples. I can't any of these scandalous couples last? Why can't these couples that seem like they're really bad couples last?
Yeah, I know. And then meanwhile, Katie, TBD on whatever the hell that boyfriend is. I feel like that something fucked up's gonna happen there. And then Ariana still seems in bliss with her trainer / bar owner. But I'm like, their accounts now are just sandwiches.
I know.
Like, is this just what it is now? Like, it's just like pictures of sandwiches?
You mean Katie and Ariana only post close-up photos of sandwiches that other people post when they go to something about her?
Yes. And also, this is my platform to say I fucking hate the redesign of Instagram stories where it pivots between the person that posted and the person that reposted. So it looks like if you add text on top of a story you're resharing, you can't tell if it was the original story or what you added. Whereas I I think you can make the decision if you want it to be like, you could like, this is inside baseball or just specific, but you need to have the story be shrunk down so you can tell that you're reposting someone else. Whereas if it takes up the whole screen and it just does that thing where it flips between, like, if I reposted you, it'd be like Riley, Amy, Riley, Amy, but then you're like, wait, did Amy post this or did Riley post this?
I know people get so confused when you and I are reposting each other's content. But also, I didn't like I don't know about Instagram at all. But I didn't like the way where if you repost, it's like you have to create it. Oh, I just like pulled up my Instagram. You have to like create that horrible background and then just keep that in a little window. Like there has to be some better way to do this. Yeah. Can't they figure it out? Mark Zuckerberg looks so cool now. He should have a cool way to solve story posting.
Yeah, well, I say this because I'm like, it'll be, it'll look like Ariana's just posting a picture of a sandwich, but then you realize it's a fan and you're like, why is she posting this? And you're like, oh, it's a repost, Yeah, I understand that completely. I started looking up at that little top where it shows, where it says X, it says like, yeah, but I totally get what you're saying. I think that if I'm not mistaken, I bet those people right now are working on a solution that's going to make us really happy. Meta, come on.
Yeah. I didn't even want to talk about this. Maybe we shouldn't, but Joe Weinberg popped her little head in again. I think she popped in her head as she goes, what was she saying? She was like...
She said that she got asked to do the Valley and she said no.
Yeah, and then Zach Wickham said, what the hell? He goes, I normally would let lies and rumors like this stand, but not today, Satan. He goes, Joe Winberg, show me an email where you were offered to be on the Valley. He kind of pushed back on that. And I also, I wouldn't have, because now we know that Joe, unfortunately, has an issue with lying. We found that out. And I also didn't think it would make any sense to have her on the Valley. She didn't really have a huge impact on season 11. And now that her relationship with Schwartz is over, I don't think that they would just add her to the cast of the Valley.
It's absolutely nuts. Her farewell to Vanderpump Rules was so insane. She played the smallest part in history. I can think of 30 other people that played more of a role on that show than her. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just, I don't know. Thought it was interesting. I guess I kind of think Victoria and Joe are kind of like two sides of the same coin in a way. They're both handling this post Vanderpump Rules life in different ways, but both of them want attention from it.
This just occurred to me. They still own that house, both Ariana and Tom, right? It's never been listed that I've seen.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, but Ariana bought that house, right? That one. Remember,
she bought a new house, but I just mean that's not even settled yet.
I know. Oh my God. There's still, there's so many unsolved mysteries now that we're never going to know the answer to, and that's definitely a huge one.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's some dark shit. And then we can talk about Salt Lake, which was just a barrel of fun.
Yes. You thought it was fun, just like me?
Yes. I'm telling you, I was just talking to, I sort of commandeer the gym now where I know who my Bravo people are at the gym and we'll gather around after and talk about stuff. I was just saying, I didn't know that Housewives was capable of being this good still in 2024.
That's amazing. What an endorsement for Salt Lake City.
You know what I mean? I was for a while there, I was just I think the best times are behind us and there's still good stuff, but it will never be as good as it was because the world has changed and it's just not possible to do that kind of show the same way. And this season, I think, is proving that wrong. It's fun. The cast is grooving. It's funny, dramatic, but not too dark, just kind of silly drama, but still funny. And then it has the Mary and her son's storyline give it that heart and gravitas that the Housewives always had.
Totally. I wonder if you could make the case or the theory that franchises for the most part get really good around the season 4, 5, 6 mark, because I know that those are a lot of my favorite seasons on other franchises. I wonder if it does for some cast, it does take a little bit to fully hit your stride. But I agree. I mean, I thought Salt Lake City season 4 was just like this, where every episode to me was amazing. So I feel like it's on par with the quality of last season as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's great. And I want to say up front that when I saw that this was going to be called Rooms for Improvement, I was like, oh man, I was like, Amy and I just talked about that room shit on Roni. I was like, I don't know if I want to see the, I'm going to run to that room. I was like, I was almost going to say, I was going to say, I think Rooms is now a trope.
Yeah.
And too many housewives know that it's such a fun thing in the former Roni universe and they want to make it a thing. Mm-hmm. But this is actually, I was like, oh my God, how did Salt Lake City avoid this curse? I was eating it up, loving them talking about all of the possible room scenarios that couldn't work. As Lisa was describing all of the room stuff, I was like, oh my God, it just proves that you can do anything you want. They could play sex games. What are all the tropes? You could play sex games in a Sprinter van while wearing Great Gatsby outfits, and I don't know, one other trope. Axe throwing while you're in the same Sprinter van, and also say, who do you hate the most in all in one scene, and a good cast can do it right, and the worst cast can never do anything even with those advantages or tropes. Salt Lake City, it did the best version of that again, and it is a good parallel with the start of a trip, because Roni just had the start of a trip and it was boring, like watching paint dry, and then you watch this one and it was amazing. Every step of the way was fun watching them do it. So
I just thought about watching Roni tomorrow and I just got so sad.
I know.
It's just sucks so bad.
Oh my God, it really. And we were told that was a good one.
It makes me want to cry. I fucking hate it.
But some people have said, Riley, Amy, you don't have to recap it. You have to watch it. But I feel like it's so important. I think are we the only podcast that recaps it?
Good question. I mean, it feels important to.
Yes.
Like I said before, sometimes you have to watch The Room to understand The Godfather. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You have to see what is missing to know what is gold.
Yes, you always say that. Yeah, it's you realize Tommy Wiseau is not like Marlon Brando at all.
Oh my God, I just remembered The Room was a clue on Pop Culture Jeopardy.
No way.
This film has the lines, "Oh hi Mark, oh hi Denny, oh hi Claudette," and it was "What is the room?" Was
Colin Jast knowingly kind of winking because he's like, I know what the room is, very much so.
I sometimes there'll be an answer that's so random and people will get it wrong, and he'll be like, yeah, I corrected you as if I knew. He was like, I don't know what the hell that is.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Who gets to go on this? Anyone?
Yeah, it's teams of 3. Which I remember when they were auditioning people or whatever, I had a few different group chats that were forming groups, and I was like, I can't fucking do that.
I was just going to ask, will you and me and someone better than us go as a group, and we can just go into it knowing that we'll both be really bad, and the shame, we won't let the shame wash over us.
Never push the button ever.
I think, I would if it was Bravo,
Even then I'd be ashamed. I know we would suck somehow still.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be like, what's a question that we would get wrong? This person famously went to St. Bart's and said partying was called turtle time. And you and I go, oh.
We're like Kelly Ben-Simone. The problem is you have to, the same as crosswords and all that stuff, you have to really acclimate to the form, because the questions are absolute gobbledygook to me, because it's it'll say what you think the answer would be. So you're like, oh, it's not Bethany Frankel. Oh my God, Skinny Girl was a clue too. You had to get some Skinny Girl margarita. It was Bethany Frankel sold this brand for $100 million.
Oh my God.
But it's someone accidentally answered Bethany Frankel, even though Bethany Frankel was in the question.
Oh, wow. That would have been me.
Yeah.
Because I would have just pushed the button thinking that I knew the answer, and then I would have completely flopped. Colin Jost would be like, can you get this guy out of here?
He totally dogged on him. He made fun of him.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure kind of in a sweet way, like Colin Jost is.
No, it was funny. But I'm you have to be you have to really read the question and be okay, what are they asking for? Is it the person or the place or the thing? I can't think that fast.
Me neither. I know. I can't at all. All right. Well, I'll lead us into this. It was called Rooms for Improvement. You know why it was titled that. It's instantly, makes sense as a title. So first, we got a little bit of the post-bat mitzvah runoff. And I can quickly say that Angie is very upset about how Meredith threw her ass out of that bat mitzvah. And Meredith is standing firm in the idea that she was justified because Angie slut-shamed Brittani. And they're both having separate conversations, and you're like, oh my gosh, these two cast members are at an impasse. Will this fever ever break?
Right. Yeah, they're both, Meredith was like, that whole event was about no hate, and slut-shaming is hate. And then Angie is like, so embarrassing for Meredith to make that much drama at a spiritual event. So they're both judging each other.
And Angie doesn't like that she was thrown out on her ass in front of Heather's daughter.
Yeah. I mean,
Meredith's
it was embarrassing. Like, I thought it was embarrassing. Like, I'm Team Angie on this one.
You are?
I'm just like, I mean, on one hand, you could say, how dare you make a stink at someone's bat mitzvah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, if you're a host, you could like handle it more delicately.
I agree. I don't know why I was so shocked. I agree Meredith went overboard, and she didn't have the full story. Angie was kind of just feeling herself a little bit, sowing some oats. She did slut shame technically, but there was a lot more nuance to it. I don't think Meredith needed to throw her out. I want to say about Meredith and Angie up front, they both have, I think I already said this, but they both have a skewed portrait of each other. They both have they're looking at each other through a mirror that's broken, and I know that they will like each other someday. I think they will find a lot of love soon. I almost am like, are you both keeping this ruse up because it's good to have an enemy and keep that fueling conflict, because it's just not accurate. Meredith is great, Angie is great, and the reconciliation I know is coming, and it sort of does at the end of this episode, but I'm just like, I'm ready, I think, for them to see each other clearly.
Sure.
You both will like each other. I know
each other.
Exactly.
Then we get Angie at Mary's house, which was started with some comedy gold.
Mary
at Angie's house.
Yep. Mary almost, you could say almost anything Mary does is funny.
Yeah, she like lets herself in because Angie's not answering the door, and she just goes and sits on the couch, and Angie's like bringing in flowers to the kitchen, brings out a charcuterie board. She's just like getting ready for her to come over, and Mary's just like on the couch like 10 feet away.
Yeah, and I like seeing what Angie was going to do, to like set up the scene. Like I'm sure Mary was like 15 minutes early or something maybe. Right. And Mary just thinks, in this universe, if production's already in there, obviously I can just go in someone's house. But Angie doesn't play by that. She thinks that in a scene, you knock on the door or whatever, so she wasn't ready. And then Mary goes, peekaboo. And Angie gets completely scared that Mary's there on the couch waiting for her.
Yeah. It was funny. And then it's revealed that neither of them know how to open a bottle of champagne, which I find incredible. I don't understand. I
found it incredible as well. And unless I'm completely mistaken, and you tell me if I am, I thought Mary loves champagne, and she loves that Dom Perignon from right after 9/11 when
when everyone died. I assume that she would say she has someone open it for her always.
Really?
I mean, they figured it out.
I just worry whenever I'm opening champagne, I know you keep that thing, you don't let that thing pop out because it usually flies.
That happened on Southern Charm too. I think it was Molly on the in the van on the way to the polo thing opened champagne, and she popped it in the van and it flew. I'm like, you don't do that.
I think everyone needs a champagne lesson.
It's not hard.
Yeah, but so you think Mary she's never opened her own champagne even though she famously loves certain types of champagne?
I mean, maybe she's full of shit. Maybe she just wants to act like she always has someone do it for her.
And then Angie goes, well, I know how to pour it. And then Angie does a horrible pour.
Yeah, she didn't tip it. You got to tip it to the side. And then it gets more serious. Mary says she's had a rough day. She opens up to Angie about what her son confessed to her, which we saw a couple episodes ago. She brings up like the heroin Xanax, acid. She said like that he was like, it's almost like bordering on addiction. And she was like, no, it like is addiction. And then it's like so sad. I like fully cried. She says what he said, that he didn't want to live anymore and that he felt like a stain, and she's crying and she's saying that she prayed for so long to get pregnant with him, and that like she you know, like wanted him more than anything in the world. Like it was just so sad. And it's shocking to me that the way I felt about Mary previously and how I feel about her now, like I feel like something more than just this has changed. Like her personality is different than it was before, I feel.
Yeah, I'm really wondering about that. I'm wondering if this is the same. Well, no. She even said, Andy Cohen asked, he was like, you seem so much lighter. And she was like, I am lighter, you know? So I do agree that maybe some major shift has happened, but I just also know that I think that they're editing out some stuff that you and I would go, oh my gosh, you know, there's still some
R word.
There's
edit.
But no, everyone gets, you know, this is purely you have empathy for this situation, no matter what. I don't care what Mary has said in the past. I mean, I guess there's some horrible things, but it's just like, this is purely just empathy, and you have sympathy for her, and Angie does too. Angie is pretty taken aback in this scene. I really noticed, like, Angie was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I'm learning this firsthand with Mary right now, and that she chose me to share this story with, you know, and
you can tell she doesn't totally know what to say, but she relates to it in the sense that her mom was an alcoholic. Yeah. So she has some experience in that way. And so that was nice. And oh my God, it was also so heartbreaking when Mary was crying in her confessional saying she has no one to call for help. Like she was like, I don't have a mom or a grandma or whatever. Like, and she was like, I just have to figure out whatever he needs and I'll do it. But it was like so sad. Like I was like, oh my God, like I haven't felt this like heart wrenched in a long time from Bravo.
I felt the same way. I was like, the way she was so upset, I was like, I felt so bad for her. You know, I don't mean this as like a criticism or whatever, but because Robert Sr. doesn't appear on camera, I know he still exists.
Right.
And I know he's still like in the house, possibly up in a bedroom somewhere when they're filming, but it's like, I felt like she truly was alone. I like there's no mention even of his father being a part of this, you know, and I wonder if that's just like, she can't mention him because he doesn't want to be involved, but she felt very alone.
Yeah. It's odd. Like what is going on there. And then it ends with her saying that she's going to try and make Mexico work, but she'll probably have to go late or whatever. So like, she's not in the beginning part of the trip. But I think she is next week. And then we get, the airport scene, everyone arriving. We find out that Bronwyn called Lisa to ask if she could bring a gift. And Lisa was like, for everyone. And Lisa was like, no, I'm going to bring a gift. You're good. Just come as you are by yourself. And she brought gifts anyways. Judith Lieber bedazzled passport covers, which I have to imagine were quite expensive.
Who's Judith Lieber?
She makes those like little rhinestone bags that look like other things. Like Mr. Big famously gave Carrie one that looks like a swan, and she was like, this is so not me.
Oh, really? It was a swan, a bag that looked like a swan.
Yeah, they're like small. Like you could get one that's like an apple, or like a stack of $100 bills, or like a lollipop.
Oh, wow!
You know? And so they're expensive.
What? And these were passports that?
Yeah, like passport covers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But which I'm like, dude, like I'll take any gift. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I get why Lisa said, I'm going to give all the gifts. It's my trip. But also, if you're Whitney or Angie, I'd be like, can I have that too?
Yeah. And I was watching the after show, and Whitney was like, it's pretty common for us all to bring stuff all the time. Like, she was like, this is the first trip where we haven't gotten little Meredith Marks bags, you know, like people always bring shit. So it's kind of like, who cares? And it's also kind of like a thank you. Like, you're like, I don't know, if I was like going on a girls trip and someone brought who didn't plan the trip brought like pajamas for everyone, I'd be like, cool.
Yeah, maybe Lisa was more like Bronwyn shouldn't have asked, and then Lisa wouldn't have been like, she couldn't have offered her input. It was more like I specifically said, don't do that, and you ignored me, so you're not taking cues from me, and that represents that you're not listening to me at all.
She probably already ordered it.
Yeah. Bronwyn also, unfortunately, I heard about this.
Yeah.
It's worse than I even ever thought.
Yeah.
Bronwyn goes, I'm feeling a lot better. And then everybody's like, what happened? And she was like, I went to a dog park with my dog, and there was an unattended dog in there. The owner was in their car, like on the phone or something. And that dog just started attacking my leg. And then when I tried to push him off or whatever, he attacked my arm. And the wounds are so bad. It's like... Oof. The right half of her body was mauled by a dog. Like, I could not imagine. That's like a nightmare scenario.
It's really bad. It was like she had to get stitches. I think I read on her like IG that there was like some like bone fracture. Like, it was like fucking horrible. So kudos for her for showing up. And I also read online that I don't know where she said this, but someone said that she like paid to have the dog like trained or like placed, or like she did something nice out of pocket for this dog, like to get it where it needs to be, rather than being like it should get put down or whatever. Which wow. I'm always like team dog. Like I obviously people are such idiots at dog parks. Like
totally,
it's ridiculous.
I've been around unattended dogs where their owners are going to like walk around somewhere. I was like, come on, please be responsible for your dog.
No, you have to have your eyes on the prize. Like, dog parks are so dangerous, but they're fun, but they're dangerous. So I love that she's like a true dog lover. I know I always shout out, I know Kim and Croy are problematic these days, but they trained their dog, mauled their 4-year-old son or something like that because there was like chaos going on and the dog freaked out and bit him, and they ended up like training him and he had to like wear a muzzle and like, but they like let him back in. And I was like, that I like when people try their best to make it work. I'm, no judgment otherwise, but it's just
no
like
judgment
nice
if you
when people really care.
Totally. No, I'm glad. That's interesting. I didn't know that aspect of the story, but I could not imagine. Like, that's so traumatic. And it kind of does, it makes me a little more sympathetic to Bronwyn's journey this episode, because I was a little dismissive of some of the decisions she makes. But if you're post being bit like that by a dog, like, I don't know, she's probably feeling pretty sensitive and rattled,
Damn.
So I got to give her some grace here a little bit.
Yes. Did you like the moment? So they get the Mexico airport margaritas, and then Lisa's like, the bathroom was sick, there was like piss all over the floor, and Heather's like, she's like, I didn't want to sit on the seat, so I pissed all over everything.
I know. I was like, I can't believe open and shut case, Your Honor. I was like, Lisa thought that some other person pissed all over this thing, but Heather claims it. It says I pissed standing up, like just purely standing up because there was so much turbulence. So brave, or that's not brave. What is that? Honest.
Yeah, brave as well. Okay, then we get the room assignment talk. So Bronwyn joins, was it Angie and Whitney?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So when I heard the room assignments, I go, whoa. I mean, there is a divide here.
Yeah.
There's all my favorites.
Yeah.
And then there's, no, actually, I love Angie just as much. But it was just very clear that, like, Lisa was like A squad and B squad. It was Lisa, Heather, Meredith, 3 OGs, and Brittany, the friend of that they chose. And she does lay out all of the ways in which this makes the most sense, but the one thing she left out is that Bronwyn wasn't good on that side because the Angie shut the fuck up scene that happened at Bat Mitzvah, and also she threw Whitney under the bus or whatever. So she didn't really make the case for why Bronwyn went to that room really well, but every other decision she made I felt was justified.
Sure. Whitney's like, Bronwyn, why do you think you got kicked out of the Mean Girls Club?
Yeah.
And then you find out, because Bronwyn's saying her justification is that she's like, I'm oldest friends with Lisa. Like, I've known her for 10 years or whatever. And then they show a clip of unseen footage of her at lunch with Lisa and John talking about like adoption, like because John is adopted, and like his relationship with his birth parents and how that went badly. And then Bronwyn's asking about like the grandparents thing with her daughter. So they were having like a heart to heart, which reinforced that they are close old friends. But yeah, she feels outcast, and especially with Brittany getting to join the other side. She just like fucking hates Brittany and thinks she's like a trash bag, and so she's like, why does she get to be over there?
Yeah, well, it's also classic friend of conflict. You know, you're competing with each other because you think there's only going to be one spot open for you on the cast. Well, with that flashback scene though, I was like, well, that's just a scene that got cut because it seems like they're trying to not follow through on the Gwen storyline of her meeting her grandparents or whatever, you know. So I wasn't sure if that meant that showed how strong their friendship was over the years, you know. It just seemed like it was just saying how like John's adoption story was like worst case scenario.
Right. Sounds like it was Lisa's fault.
Yeah, because Lisa had a Hollywood ending that she imagined, and John Barlow's mom, this is like horrible for him. John Barlow's mom goes, I never thought about you for 1 second after I gave birth to you.
Yeah, she was like, get out of here. It was sad.
Yeah.
Then we find out that Meredith is going to return Angie's gift from the bat mitzvah, which is she's Kara Stoss, or however you say it, is getting major spawn in these 2 episodes.
Yeah, I thought Karastas as well. I was like 2 mentions of Karastas, but then I was like, oh wait, well Karastas isn't going to like this very much because Meredith says it's filled to the brim with sulfites.
It's like a nice salon shampoo, but yeah, she's like, I need to use sulfur-free shampoo, and she should know that.
Yeah.
And she had also given her, which I'm like, it's kind of funny. It's one thing to gift somebody that if you're like going to their house, or like if you're giving the girls like little like beauty packs or whatever, but it's kind of a weird gift for like a bat mitzvah. I
know. I thought so too. I would think it's like clean up your act.
Like, it's just, it was that and a journal. Like, it's just kind of like a grab bag. You're like, what is this?
Well, the journal was sweet, but yeah, those huge shampoo and conditioners. Bronwyn, you know, you already mentioned it, but Bronwyn is kind of spiraling from this decision. And I want to ask you, do you think Lisa Barlow was being, made a calculated decision to exclude Bronwyn because they're kind of on the outs and she wanted to make a statement? Or do you think that this is just the most logical setup and she didn't think it mattered at all?
Yeah, I don't know. She was saying on the after show that she claimed that like, she had some justification for it, that like she had been given a nice room by, I forget who, and so she gave them a nice room this time, and then like she had it all laid out where I was just like, she acted like she didn't think about it really, and then she just immediately went to the fact that she's like, I would never complain when I was taken on a trip by someone else, which we're like, we know that's not true.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's proof that is the opposite has happened. Yeah, I guess, that's exactly what that's what I was thinking as well. Well, a part of me was like, Bronwyn has been having issues with Lisa, a lot of issues, it seems. If I'm remembering correctly, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to keep in mind, but I feel like Bronwyn has felt like Lisa has been distant to her and not backing her up, and I feel like Bronwyn has made it very clear that her and Lisa are not close anymore. She had that, like, I have to ride your dick like it's my job. Like, I feel like Lisa could be sort of reacting to the fact that Bronwyn is putting a lot of pressure on their friendship, and they're just not as close as they were at the start of the season because of the conflicts that have arisen. So to me, it felt justified no matter what that Bronwyn was with that other squad.
Sure. Yeah, I think Bronwyn's a little high maintenance in general. Like, she's like sensitive and expects everyone to think of her all the time, and it's like no one like cares that much.
Right.
Then we get a little moment. They all go to the bar. Brittany tries to do another one of her announcements. She's like, cling, 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 cling. And she's like, my daughter spent the night at my house. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I felt bad, of course. I felt so bad for Brittany. But also, I don't think that they know Brittany enough to celebrate that. I mean, not only they probably have mixed feelings. Like Bronwyn's not going to celebrate any shit that you're doing, Brittany, because she's competitive with you. But also, I don't think that you've let your story be known enough to where everyone is like rooting for you. So all of these announcements, they just don't land. And then Brittany gets like upset, but it's like they're not rooting for you yet like that because they just don't know you well enough. You know what I mean? I felt bad for her, but I also, again, I don't think it warranted everyone's full attention for that.
Right. Yeah. And it's like she keeps doing it. So everyone's like, oh my God, what now?
Yeah. But I like it in theory. I do like that Brittany always just keeps making announcements every time they sit down.
Yeah. She's funny. And then Bronwyn takes this opportunity at the table to say she was surprised about the room assignments. She's like, and like for Brittany to be in that group, like, what the hell? And Brittany's like, maybe Lisa likes me better. Like, maybe she just likes me better.
I love that. And Bronwyn is so pissed and upset. And another thing about this that I was thinking, it's like, if I was relegated to the not cool kids table, I feel like it's the worst thing you can do to be like, God, I'm around the losers.
Yeah.
I hate being at this table.
Yeah.
I wish so badly I was with Heather, who absolutely hates me, and I hate Heather. Like, and she's not that close with Meredith. She's only close with Lisa. Right. So I just
tried to say it like, that I'm not getting along with these ladies right now, which is kind of more of what it is, I guess, or part of what it is. But I'm like, I don't think you're really getting along with anyone, ?
Yeah. I just wish that Bronwyn, okay, so I noticed this last week. I thought Bronwyn was very insecure a little bit about her standing within the group, and she was making bad decisions based off that insecurity, like throwing Brittany under the bus or starting fights with Angie and Whitney to appease Lisa. And I still sense a little bit of that insecurity, which I wouldn't expect Bronwyn to be like that. She has such a confident aura. I've only known her to be confident. And so like these situations are testing her and showing a new facet of Bronwyn's personality that I didn't expect to see. Sort of like, she could have just been powerful and confident with Angie and Whitney. Be like, let's bury the hatchet, you guys. I'm so sorry that I talked shit about you, but I actually like this side way more than that shitty side. There's a way to be powerful even when the chips are down and make the most of it. But instead she's like complaining and griping that she doesn't get to be at the cool kids table.
Yeah, it's a little annoying. Like her and Lisa are going back and forth, and she's like, Lisa's like, I travel luxury too. Like, why are you acting like you know more about nice travel than me or whatever? And then Bronwyn's like, oh, so I'm a snob now. She has this like tick where she the second anyone says anything, they're like, oh, so now I'm this. Like, she just like does this little, oh, so now you think I'm whatever. And you're like, that's not really what they said. And like, this is annoying.
Yeah. And she did it again. She goes, and now I'm wrong and I'm a moron. And I was like, I don't think Lisa even came close to calling you a moron. And she did it with Angie last week at the bat mitzvah. She was like, now you're calling me, I don't know, you're calling Todd a piece of
she said that's weak or something because she started to walk away. And she's like, oh, so I'm weak now. And you're like, shut up. Like,
yeah. What's that called when you do that?
Put words in someone's mouth? I don't know.
Yeah, she's like using it, but I don't think it's I don't think Bronwyn is just overinflating things for drama. It feels real. It feels like this is really how she interacts with people and fights with people, because she's not scripted at all. Right. Like, you could say Brittany or Angie have sort of false moments or whatever, but Bronwyn, like, she's just fighting. Like, she's like, she's really going. Like, Lisa and her are having an evolving fight even as they're walking from the seats to the table. I was like, this is a real fight. Like, they're going at it right now, which is interesting.
Yes. And then this leads to Angie getting her gift back. She is like, oh, did Meredith give me something? Because it's in a Brooks Marks bag or whatever. Yeah. And she opens it. She's like, oh, it's my gift. And then she's like, well, you said that I should give it back. Like, you said that, you brought it, and since I kicked you out, I should give it back or whatever. And Angie's like, is that what I said? And then Meredith's like, is that not what you said? And then Angie's like, is that what you said or is it not? And then Meredith's like, who said that? And then she's like, did you say it or didn't you? And I was like, It's a really good way of communicating. And Heather rightfully notes that this has happened before. And it was very similar to the Audrey Hepburn party, where they are talking to each other in a very unique way, and it's like, I don't even know what that's like called. Like, they're both trying to stump. Atlanta. Who said that?
Yeah, totally.
Who said that?
Yeah, totally. And then Angie, I don't like when Angie does this.
This is
Meredith
like her
goes,
third or fourth time throwing shit.
yeah, and I was like, that could have broke, like a plate could have been broken.
Yeah.
That could have bounced and hit Brittany in the head. Angie, which I don't think of Angie like this, even though I'm like, wow, I've seen this like now 5 times, her throwing stuff, but she throws the bag in such a way that the bottles crash on the table, and Brittany goes, you just threw shampoo and conditioner at me, and has that note of like, oh my God, why am I being treated like this? Like, this is supposed to be real life, and Angie is in a soap opera. And that's what Angie was treating her like last week too.
Those like probably weigh like 2 pounds each.
Yeah.
Yes. She also said on the after show that that package of shampoo conditioner is like $200.
Really?
So that plays in.
Well, I'll shut my mouth then. I don't care how big they are. $200 I'm saving. But then Meredith goes, Angie, did you see what the first ingredient is? And that is? And Angie reads and she goes, sulfite.
I like that she was like, when she threw it, she goes, your hair's fried and looks like shit.
Yeah. And then Brittany goes, oh my God, this is horrible. Like, basically like a real moment. And Angie goes, I thought the bag was upside down, you drama queen. And I was like, oh my God, Angie, please. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is how Angie really is. Yeah. I think these are all moments that she knows she's trying to have iconic moment after iconic moment. And she's doing well enough without outbursts like this. I'll keep saying that.
Sure. So then it's like a lot of back and forth about like the fact that Angie, they prove in the clip that Angie said that Brittany's dating 3 guys. Angie is saying to Lisa that she's not having her back. And then Lisa screams, why can't we talk in fact? And then Brittany, not talking in fact, says that Angie said she had slutty tits and porn star tits. And the waiter is standing there while she's talking about porn star tits. And he's like, do you guys want to order?
Yeah, they keep having to be moved along by the waiters and servers so that they can sit down. I want to say about the whole slut shame controversy, they kind of pretend that Brittany started the whole slut shaming thing, which kind of makes Lisa push back and say, can we speak in fact? But even Bronwyn then piles on and says, no, Brittany started this. But in fact, it's true. Angie did start this. She's been alluding to the fact that Brittany dates or sleeps with a lot of people. It doesn't matter that at the bat mitzvah, Brittany tried to throw it back at her, because Angie's been saying this for weeks before.
But she is seeing multiple men, is she not?
Yeah, but Angie is saying that in a derogatory way, in my opinion. Angie is saying that to call out. But then I guess Heather says, in Angie's defense, says that Angie's talking about the hypocrisy of Brittany.
I noticed on the after show, Heather gets into we're about to talk about the fact that they call out that because Brittany's like, I don't sleep with my boyfriends or boyfriend, and they show an unseen clip from one of the trips where she shows the girls like, I think they were saying crotchless panties that Jared Osmond bought for her. And Heather was saying in the after show, she was like, I don't know about you, but my boyfriend doesn't buy me crotchless panties if we're not fucking. And Heather's so like specifically triggered about the hypocrisy of the Mormon church at large, and like controlling women, and like trying to be perfect for the church, and like rule following. Like, she hates that shit. That's like her big platform, is talking against that. So the fact that Brittany's still trying to uphold that kind of, sorry, but like BS of like, like Mormons don't drink, but I drink. But if you bring a bottle of wine, like that's unacceptable. And being like, I wear crotchless panties, and then to be like, how dare you call me a slut? Like, it's just like, what is your lifestyle?
Right.
On one hand, you could say not our business, but she talks about everything so much that you're like, it is our business.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was like, Heather is, that makes total sense. Like, I'm glad that she clarified what Angie truly meant. But I do think that Angie wanted it both ways. She is trying to hold power over Brittany in such a way that she wanted that accusation to mean both things. Hypocritical, but also she was just trying to bring to light the fact that Brittany is possibly sleeping with 3 people, and she meant it disparagingly, I thought. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the first time, the clip that they showed the very first time, the wine night, she was like, Brittany got flowers. And Angie was like, which guy are these from? And Brittany said, like, guy number one. Like, they were talking about it, like, realistically, like, which one of the guys you're seeing sent flowers. And then she threw it in her face later when about the wine thing. She was like, if you're gonna make me look like an asshole for bringing wine, I'm gonna bring up the fact that like nothing about your lifestyle adds up.
All right, I'll give Angie the benefit of the doubt. Angie, Turtle Time officially declares that you weren't slut shaming. You were pointing out the hypocrisy of the Mormon Church. Could you imagine if Jared Osmond had brought crotchless panties to that event?
I mean, I love that she says in the clip when she's wearing the crotchless panties, she was like, I mean, no one will see this, so I'll just show you guys, because she's like, they can't show this.
Yeah.
Like, on camera, basically.
Yeah. And then Heather said something about, like, Jared Osmond is going to be so excited.
She was like, now we know what shit he's into.
Right.
And then basically, to make a long story short, Meredith and Angie kindly apologized to each other at the end. Meredith says she was triggered by the slut shaming, was hoping for a different outcome. I'm sorry it turned out how it did. Angie says, thank you for saying that. I was devastated. I've always respected you as a mother, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to fight. And then Angie's just like, let's just sit in this peaceful moment and like not talk anymore about this.
Yeah, and this is what I wanted. I was so happy. I was so happy. This lasted after the scroll. When Angie brought the scroll out, I was like, I didn't think we needed more Meredith and Angie, and it kind of, got brought back up again a little bit with some miscommunication at the Audrey Hepburn thing. I'm so glad. Like, I'm ready for a truce era between them. I thought it was so sweet. And I thought Meredith kind of, she's the one who prompted it. She said, I'm sorry first, which I thought was wonderful of Meredith. And then Angie's reaction was beautiful too. She's like, I've always wanted this. I'm just going to revel in this. So very sweet conclusion to this episode after a lot of fighting.
Yeah. And then next week we get that clip that's been teased where Bronwyn's like, do you want to know the real shit I deal with Todd, which is giving Erica Jane, like, you don't know what I go through at night.
Yeah. Oh, I was worried. Did I see, or am I just going to start some horrible rumor? Did I see that it has the word possibly infidelity in it?
Yeah.
You saw that?
She said infidelity. So I'm very intrigued by that.
Todd is cheating, possibly?
Yeah. There was also, I read online, was it a preview or something? I get so confused because they release those clips like willy-nilly where I'm like, wait, that hasn't aired yet.
Right.
But there was something about that, like Todd didn't go to the hospital or something.
No.
Like, there's something like that.
Could you imagine Todd cheating on Bronwyn?
I know, seriously, what the hell?
Like I'm gonna cheat on my wife. I'm Todd.
But I'm too lazy to do the blind items, but I've been seeing a lot of housewife divorce blind items, and I think people think they could be one.
Really?
Yeah. There's like a few.
Yeah.
They're so vague all the time, I can never even tell what the hell they're talking about. So I'm like, I'll just wait for the news. But
yeah, well, I love when someone gets more powerful than their shitty significant other and finally is able to kick them to the curb for treating them badly. Yeah. So I hope, that's Bronwyn's future if Todd continues to treat her like shit. Because Bronwyn's a very powerful, cool person, and I'm so glad she's a cast member on the show. She's killing it.
Totally. Great addition.
Yeah.
And then do you want to bop-ba-doo over to Charleston?
Well, bop-a-dee-dee-dee, yes, I do.
Off the peep end?
Yes, I wanted to off the peep end. I want to peep into this episode and ask you, I think I know why they called it this, but what were your theories why it's called off the peep end?
The Easter brunch, baby.
Peeps? I didn't see any peeps on that table.
There might have been.
Oh, I wish that she would have specifically said, I put a bunch of like 6 or 7 peeps out on this table.
Peeps are gross, let's be real.
I know. They're not my favorite candy at all. But and then off the peep end, play on off the deep end, JT.
Yeah. His fall from grace.
He's off the deep end. This was an amazing episode. And I have to say, we didn't even talk about this. I was shocked. My mouth was wide open at the huge reveal, and I'll just say it now because everybody will have seen it. I cannot believe that JT didn't say this.
That Craig's a liar. You're shocked?
No. I know. I believe in the world where Craig lies his ass off. I believed it, but I in no way did I not think JT most likely called Patricia a bitch after how she received the cane? I was like, in no way will this be a fake story. So to find that out,
they hit him with a footage not found.
Yes. I was like, oh my God, this changes everything. Now did JT leave the show because he doesn't want to be a part of Bitchgate? And he thinks that the show is possibly going to leave him out on a limb calling Patricia a bitch based off Craig's words, and he doesn't know that they're going to give him that beautiful favorable edit saying audio not found. This changes everything about why JT probably left the show. I thought he called her a bitch and said, whoa, I got horrible. I'm leaving. I don't want to be associated with what this show is turning me into. But now it seems like it might have been a valiant effort. Like,
Yeah. I have to say, I mean, we'll get into Craig's behavior on this episode, but I just want to say it right now that I've never bought the full rehabilitation of Craig. It's always sat wrong with me. And I got little pieces of that in this episode where you're like, he's such a little bitch.
Oh my God, I can't wait for you to say that. Well, I'll say the opposite. No, not the opposite. I'm with you that I cannot believe Craig did this. I was like, Craig, you're one of my heroes. I cannot believe what you did with that JT story. You spread so many horrible, slanderous accusations about things that JT never said once. That was Craig at his worst. But I watched Southern Charm the whole way through, and I never found Craig to be what a lot of people did find him to be, a liar, have bad character. So I was always rooting for Craig, even despite his little infractions. But this, I can totally see why someone who's not a Craig head would be like, oh, this is the Craig that I knew and witnessed. It's not good. They gave
a tasty little montage of
Yes.
his lives.
Yes.
But yeah, let's dig in. So it starts, amongst other things, Shep we meet his girlfriend for the first time via FaceTime. I noticed he still has the massive shaky leg syndrome. He cannot chill.
Oh, I didn't notice it.
On the phone with her, his leg was going crazy. He met her on a dating site. She is Miss Bahamas. He says she's so sexy. No one looks like her. She's amazing. And you already immediately get the vibe that she's in the driver's seat. Like, he's like, I would love to visit you. And she's like, we'll see. Like, he's like obsessed with her. And you can tell she's kind of maybe, I don't know if I'm letting the trailer paint that, but it felt a little bit like she was like, hey.
Yeah. He goes like, I washed my hair. Do you think it looks good? And he was also like, don't change your hair. I love how it looks right now. And then they're kind of doing opposing, what Taylor is doing with Gaston. So they show us Gaston and they're pickleball. I permitted it because they were actually playing, but I am tired of pickleball scenes. But then Taylor talks about Gaston, and it's kind of like, they're both talking about each other. Shep is talking about Taylor. Taylor is talking about Shep. Basically, they're both kind of talking shit about each other. Taylor, I guess, more so about Shep in a way.
Yeah. Shep says that Gaston looks like a villain in The Bourne Identity and that he can see him screwing on a silencer. And I was like, what?
Yeah, it was a reference that I would never make, very specific. Maybe there is a specific Bourne Identity villain that he's thinking of. You know who loved Bourne Identity?
I remember, but tell me.
Wes Wilson.
Oh yeah, he always brings that up. I was also like, I mean, I don't know what Gaston's background is, but I was like, that feels a little like potentially racially loaded. Like, I was like, what are you trying to say?
No comment. I think he specifically knew that there's some Bourne. Maybe he meant Bourne Ultimatum, the third one, because there's a guy that looks exactly like Gaston in Bourne Ultimatum. But and then Shep says some stuff. Taylor goes, she does the thing where she goes, a classic. I've got a new boyfriend. She goes, Gaston is better than Shep in every way. I love him so much. And let's just say Gaston is sexually inclined. And I was like, he has sex?
Yeah, like in any specific fashion, or just he's inclined to fuck? Like, is that what you mean?
It was almost as if you just said, and let's just say he likes sex.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. And then Shep, he's being such a little diva. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
Taylor's family, her parents, her grandparents, I know that they would prefer to still have me around.
Yeah, how do you think he heard that, do you think?
I think he just is very confident that he had won them over.
They're all watching Board Supremacy with Gaston, and they call Shep, and they're like,
start
hey.
looking around, they're like, they're like, that kind of looks like him.
Like, whoa, Shep was right. Also, I was like, well, a part of me is like, I do believe this in a way. It's so mean to say to Gaston, which, I'm a huge Gaston guy. I don't know him too well, but but I do believe like Shep is a boykin or whatever. Like, I was just like, I do believe that grandparents would be like, you had a boykin on the hook.
Right.
They named a city after this guy.
Sure.
He's South Carolina royalty, but you don't say that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's going to look horrible. Taylor just watched that, and Gaston's going to see that. What an awful thing to say, but he was kind of, Shep was feeling himself. He wanted to say something mean like that.
Then we get I forgot about one of the positives of JT's storyline is that his mom is funny and cool. So you get a little moment with his mom and his sister because he's an Airbnb czar.
Yes.
Like Lindsay Hubbard, and his mom and his sister are helping him decorate and like bring a painting or whatever. He fills them in about Cane Gate, and the second he tells them that he gave Patricia a cane, they're like, "Dear God,
yes,
what have you done?"
Yeah, and I'm a JT defender, especially after this week's episode, and he acknowledges completely that he did something wrong. He knows this was wrong, and he says what I said about the incident, which was just that in solidarity, he was giving everyone canes, and he did not think of the repercussions of offering an 80-year-old, a cane. It just, you know what I mean? And so I liked that he has the right attitude about how to deal with this post Canegate, and then he continues to have the right outlook on that he made a mistake this entire episode. You know what I mean? I completely have a 180 from what I thought JT was going to do post Kane.
Because he didn't say bitch also.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I think it also just has to do with the fact that he's not in the inner circle. So like we said before, if any of the beloved boys had done something similar, they would have gotten way less flack for it from Patricia, or she would make a joke to them, sort of like chide them back or whatever. But since she doesn't give a shit about him and thinks he's annoying already, that she was like, fuck you.
Yeah. They also, he goes, you commissioned, I know I asked you to make a beautiful piece of art, and his mom and his sister unveil that Charleston Marsh's painting. Did you like that?
It looked nice.
I thought so too. I thought it looked really
didn't know
good.
There was a marsh.
Me neither. I don't know anything about Charleston.
I'm from Torrance, and we have something called the Madrona Marsh.
Oh, what is that?
So I also come from a marshland.
Wait. I have to know, is marsh kind of like a bog?
Yeah, it's like water land.
Oh my God. I immediately think of in Lord of the Rings, I know you haven't seen it, but they have to cross a huge bog for about probably 2 days. And that's the closest I've ever come to marsh. Is it kind of like a lake that's too...
It's like soggy land.
And
like good for like birds and stuff.
Oh,
and, like, frogs.
Could you imagine? They must like love it. It's like you get a little bit of water, you get a little bit of land.
What non de plume, was it Frodo that checks in when he checks in at a little hotel or something? Do you know what name he uses?
Thank you for asking. Oh my God, can you give me 20 seconds? Frodo goes, my name's... Oh my God! Oh jeez! Oh my God! What name did Frodo check in with? Overhill?
I think it was Under.
Okay,
close.
Well, okay. What was it fully?
Like Underhill, I think.
Oh, okay. What brought you that? What brought
Celebrity
you that to mind?
Jeopardy.
Oh, they really said that?
No one got it.
Frank Underhill?
I don't think there was a first name.
Who am I thinking? Frank
Underwood.
Oh, that's
House of Cards.
Oh, right. Okay. So I like that painting. And again, I love his family camaraderie. I do feel like JT, I feel like we don't fully know what JT is like. I still feel like he's a hero, despite how they're trying to make him look like a conspiracy theorist, off the rails psycho. I don't see that in him, and maybe he was starting to take umbrage with the edit they were giving him. But either way,
we'll get into further what he does in this episode.
Yes.
I also just want to shout out, I love that Molly is revealed to play the euphonium. She's an onion that keeps unfurling, and I am interested in more. And then on the bummer note, we get Madison's family update, that it turns out that her husband at the end of last year was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. It was around the 1-year anniversary of their wedding, and he had to get like a nodule removed, and he's having some residual effects from that, which I'm like, I didn't know that was happening. And we just were watching Potomac, where Ashley's date had thyroid cancer, and I was like, what the fuck is going on?
I know.
But yeah, praying for them.
Of course. I feel so bad. And she said that they removed the nodules, but he's still having like complications. And I'm like, I cannot imagine what a horrible, horrible thing for them all to go through. And I'm hoping right now that he's just like so much better. I would have never expected something like that. So,
right. Which I feel like plays into how pissed she will get about this JT thing, because she's like, not now, bitch.
Yeah, please. I don't even want to think about what you're proposing. So they go to, now this starts the second half of the episode, and it really shows that JT, you said it, you hinted at it, he had a major fall from grace. Craig didn't like how JT was acting at BravoCon, or he watched the season and he really didn't like him. Craig's tolerance for JT, I've never seen anything like it. He went from like kind of validating him and thinking he was okay to treating him like he's his annoying little brother that he never wants to see again. I've never seen a shift like that. And Shep is barely tolerating JT either. Was the scene that you wanted to say before we got to the simulator golf shit?
No, we can go right in. So he basically, they both forgive him for the Austin Kane part. They're like, that was fine. Like you made good with him, and that was fine. But then JT brings up Madison, and he's like, she wasn't talking to me, and I didn't know why. But then I remembered that she and her husband FaceTimed me. He says, remember when she wore my like stripe outfit in Jamaica? And he's like, I guess her husband felt weird about it, because they called me and made me recount how that night went and what we did. And like, we got room service, but that was it. And I was like, that seems like a crazy thing to just completely make up.
Oh, but, yeah, no.
But at the same time, I'm like, I mean, is that a glimpse that Brett is low key like psycho?
No, I thought just maybe a little jealous or insecure. Did he think that JT and Madison really quickly made love in like the bathroom of that van, and then she accidentally put on his clothes right after? Right. I don't know. JT, it's Craig who had turned out to be a little bit of a fabricator.
Yeah. There
might be a little bit of truth here, and JT is spinning a yarn, embellishing it a little bit. But I don't doubt that, Brett could have possibly just been like, what the hell happened in that trip? Like, you and Taylor and JT and Taylor and Madison all went back in Jamaica, and you were wearing his clothes 2 hours. I don't know. Like, I could imagine him maybe being suspicious, but you would think that Brett would be so confident in himself, and trust Madison.
I mean, it's very funny and like a little bit sad that he's like trying to get on the good graces of everyone. So he gives everyone a cane, and then he gives Patricia a cane, and everyone's like, you're disgusting, you pig. Why would you give an 80-year-old a cane? And then he's like, yeah, like Madison's husband like called me, and everyone's like, yeah, right. Like, she would want to fuck you, you fucking little troll ass bitch. Like, her husband's hot. Are you insane?
Yeah, everyone is treating him so badly. And he's also, JT is like, he's like saying it was like he had this opportunity to just try out a bunch of different like storylines, because he also talks about the Patricia Kane thing or whatever, and then he doesn't say anything bad about Patricia. He's getting nothing back from Craig and Shep. They're basically just ignoring him, like tolerating him. And so he like goes through the list of all the things he wants to talk about. First it was Patricia. They give him nothing, and he doesn't say anything disparaging about Patricia. Then he goes to the scandal of Brett calling him. Then he goes, oh, and also I thought it was wild that Madison wore polka dots the same as Austin wearing polka dot pants. And I was like, are you just trying to create something here that Shep and Craig will possibly latch onto? And they give him no credit for that. They're like, what are you talking about?
They did like a Twilight Zone edit where it was like spirals and like his head floating because it was so insane that he was like, what was with their matching outfits?
Yeah, but I really felt like he was trying to like see what would give some create some conflict here in a way, and Shep and Craig were giving him nothing.
Yeah, I was almost a little heartened by how hard they rode for Austin, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like usually they all throw each other under the bus all the time. Like, whatever the hierarchy is at the time, I think it usually is like Shep, Craig, Austin. And they actually defended him as a friend, which I feel like is all any housewife would ever want, is like, when someone says shit about me, you need to have my back. And they were literally like, say it again.
Yeah.
And you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, because JT, his final thing that he wants to bring up is that Leva and Rodrigo were talking about the Audrey timeline. And I think that Craig is like, you're not doing this again. Like, we're not tolerating this on Southern Charm for another season. You're not going to be the foil to Austin, and you're not going to create another toxic Austin storyline. I felt like he was just pushing back, like, I'm not going to give you a scene where you do that again. That's what I felt. And then JT's like, well, no, then, if you feel that way, then, like, we should all ride together and tell Leva to stop talking like that. And Craig's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing anything that you want here.
Yeah. And they're both like, you need to chill. You need to stop talking like this if you want to be friends with us. And then Craig is like, if you bring it up again, you won't see me again. And then he's like, you know what? I got to get out here. This isn't healthy for me. And he leaves. And I was like, okay, like, you're so like pure and like well-to-do in your lifestyle now that you can't even entertain like a lighthearted like gossip sesh. Like, that's so offensive to your health. Yeah.
I didn't understand the reaction except as him trying to nip in the bud an Austin is a bad guy thing, like keep going. But yeah, you're right.
He doesn't even like Austin.
Craig?
Yeah, he's always mad at him.
Oh, but but deep down he loves him so much. I mean,
but I'm just like, since when are you like, he's a cherished angel that must be protected,
Yeah, because he wasn't like that last season. I really think it was just a full rebuttal to what JT was trying to bring to the table here. And he's just has such a low threshold for what he'll tolerate from JT. That's an interesting turnaround to me, because I feel like he didn't feel this way about JT last season, but now he's just not tolerating him.
To me, it's giving a little bit of like end of days Jax or like end of days Housewives, where they're like, I don't want to film with this fucking guy.
Really?
You know what I mean? Like, he's getting like too big for his britches. He's like, I don't drink. I don't tolerate this shit. Like, I am only going to participate in the way that I prefer. I don't want to do anything that's bad for my brand. Like, I feel like he's like turning into a diva, in my opinion.
Wow. Was that your big takeaway watching this episode about Craig and his shifting behavior?
Yes, but then it's like when the scene with him and Austin later, he like tells Austin everything that was said and is like being a total gossip girl.
I know. I want to give Craig, I agree. I didn't understand. I thought maybe he thought it was powerful to walk out, because sometimes walkouts are cool, but it really wasn't an earned walkout. So I didn't understand that part of it. But also, Craig had a major head cold.
Yeah, he looked like shit. I was like, maybe don't go around Patricia right now.
I agree. And also when he was this is so gross, but he was like blowing his nose and stuff. And then, he's going, I'm so sick as hell. And then he was like, I'm going to cook you a bunch of hot dogs right now.
Yeah,
and I was
he kept just being like, I'm not sick. I feel okay. It's just like annoying.
But I was like, oh my God, you look really sick. And then this is when Craig, Austin gets in his pool. Austin's happy as a clam. He's loving life with Audrey. And then this is when Craig's embellisher / storyteller persona really comes out. And I was like, every quote from JT that Craig is saying didn't happen. They're all fabricated quotes. Like the sentiment is right, but he said Austin treats his girlfriend like shit. And it's like JT did not say that. He said that Leva said this on the bus, and he was just suspicious of the timeline. And then Austin is hearing Craig say all this stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I knew that guy was a little rat."
Miserable little rat. And then he tells him about the Madison storyline, and Austin's like, Madison's gonna freak when she hears that, which I kind of like that he's like, I know Madison, like I know how she'll feel about this, like I'm actually cool with her, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he's just firing up Austin to be pissed. There's not much to say about JT's new apartment, except I'm confused about why he lives in an apartment if he's like such a wheeler and dealer. Like everyone else on the show has a house.
It's the only apartment where you can see that beautiful, beautiful shining dome atop the city.
The steeples of the holy city.
Yeah, the steeples of the holy city. I forget. Yeah, there's nothing to say. He talks to Vanita. That scene?
I don't need them at all.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're winding down because it's the final 10 minutes of this episode is the wonderful. Is it a brunch? Easter brunch?
Easter brunch. We find out that they're talking about the seating chart, and Patricia is like, Whitney never tells me shit, but I know that he dated Molly like years ago, and they show a clip. She was in like the background of the show in seasons past, which is always interesting when they can pull that.
Yes, I know. I was shocked. I was like, wow, yeah, she dated Whitney. So is Whitney not dating that person from the wonderful Carolina Cup that he brought?
I don't know what her deal was. I feel like he very casually dates. So
yeah, I do. Yeah, I want to shout out Patricia's beautiful decor. I mean, if I went to an Easter brunch like that, I don't think I'd ever leave. Chocolate bunnies, Peeps, Cadbury eggs, Reese's Pieces.
I was reading a Twitter thread that was like railing against Whitney and Patricia, partially because of what he says at the end of this episode, which he is just fucking horrible. And Patricia should be harder on him. But they were basically saying that like there's no reason for her to be on the show anymore. They were saying that her house is like decrepit and like falling apart. And then someone called out, which I'm not going to defend anything about Charleston culture and its antiquated ways, but someone was saying, how did I never notice the Civil War mural? Like that's so fucked up. And I'm like, I'm seeing redcoats. Okay, that's giving Revolutionary War. Very different. Okay.
Yeah, of course. That's so much different than the Civil War. I don't think she would.
I don't want to look too closely at whatever objects are in that house any further than that, but I just want to say that I looked for it once I saw that tweet, and I was like, I think that's the Revolutionary War. I'm just going to say that.
Which we were all, for the most part, on the side of anti-British, except for Ben Franklin's son.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I know for a fact that Patricia acknowledges that the North won.
She lived in New York for many years.
Of course.
I think she would be considered a Yankee by some.
by me even. She goes, look at this candy, Whitney. She goes, I got candy from 10 different places. Maison du Chocolat. And a bunch of other places. I loved this. And then Whitney's looking around. He's going, mother, mother. He goes, mother, where did you have me sit? And Patricia goes, look at your nameplate. And he goes, oh my gosh, next to Molly. Mm-hmm. So, and that's kind of a little bit, Patricia's wanting possibly to rekindle. That means Patricia really likes Molly, possibly.
Yeah. Molly said she's scared of Patricia, which everyone should be.
Oh.
I would be.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't be.
Oh, okay. And then so everybody joins. This is where Craig pulls out of nowhere that he's like, JT called Miss Pat a bitch.
Even hearing Craig recite it or quote him, I was like, you could have spared them saying it's almost like you are saying
it's like embarrassing. And then Shep is like, I don't remember that.
Yeah. And then I go, oh my God. I was like, this is this is falling apart. I was like, Bitchgate is not going to exist because Shep says, I didn't hear that. And then they point to the footage. He goes, yeah, he said it at the golf game, at simulated golf. And then they go to the clip, and JT said one sentence. He said, I don't think Patricia received my cane very well. And you look at Craig, and he just wasn't even listening to him. Right. He's like looking away, just going, okay, whatever, I don't care. So then Craig completely turned that. He didn't even have a tone, a mean tone towards Patricia. Just Craig completely, this is pulled out of thin air, this bitch comment.
Yeah, and then Whitney's like, well, he can go fuck himself if he impugned my mother.
Oh,
and
my
everyone's
God.
like, oh my God. Like, Madison, after she hears about the Brett FaceTime thing, she's like, he'll be the bitch when I'm done with him. Like, she like started a war.
I know, yeah, and I think that the Madison thing is fine. Like, he did say that Madison secretly maybe wanted to make love to him in Jamaica, but I just felt so bad that, you know, he's not being properly represented there in that room. I mean, like, they all, it's kind of like what you said, like, they all want to hate JT, and then they created a lot of fodder and ammunition to, like, keep hating him.
Right.
At that,
and Austin is like, I told you so. Like, he's been such a little bitch towards me for so long. So then they go over to the dinner table or whatever, and they have Shep do a toast, and he is trying to get through a Jesus-themed message that he knows very little about. So he's being goofy. He was like, Jesus was crucified. It was total bullshit. We had Pontius Pilate. Like, he sounded like us trying to talk about anything on earth. Yeah. People are kind of laughing. He not a great toast. And you know, Whitney, I looked at this a couple times. Whitney's kind of sloshing around in his chair. He looks like Pinocchio. No, he looks like Pinocchio at the what's that island that he goes to? Bad Boy Island? Donkey Island or something.
Is it Donkey Island? No, Pleasure Island.
I don't know if I know you might be going to Disneyland at some point, and if you do, that Pinocchio ride is scary as hell.
I don't think I've
don't
ever.
Show Penny.
I don't think I've ever been on it. What, is it one of the cardboard cutout rides?
Yes.
So they just have a bunch of. It's the one where you're just in a little car and a cardboard cutouts are going in front of you.
He's like, I'm a donkey. Oh no! And you're oh my God.
I just watched an hour of Pinocchio.
You did?
Yeah, I mean, because I was just like, I've been thinking about Pinocchio a lot recently.
Ever since Uba said that?
Yeah, seriously. And the Pleasure Island shit is so scary when the boys are turning into donkeys and they're going, I don't want to be a donkey. And he's
messed up.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I remember every moment of Pinocchio. But anyway, that's what led me to say Whitney is sloshing around like Pleasure Island, like a Pleasure Island donkey. He's drunk.
Oh, okay.
He's drunk.
He had that Pappy Van Winkle. And then, so Molly turns to Shep. I forget how, Shep is like, oh my God, look at this, like this gluttonous meal. I've lost 15 pounds. I'm doing really good. And Molly's like, I've lost, I forget how much she said, but she's like, I got 20 more to go or whatever. And she's like, I gained 45 pounds this year or last year or whatever. And Shep is like, why? And she says she has a thyroid issue. She is on a medication that causes binge eating. She's like, I'm working on it. Like, I've got some shit going on. And then they all get served cupcakes, and they do the thing where you like take the top off and flip it upside down to make it a cupcake sandwich.
I've never heard of that
into
before.
it.
I never.
Yeah. I mean, it, seems like a good idea.
Had you seen people do that before?
I have seen that. Yeah. I'm not often eating cupcakes, but I would try it.
Yeah, Molly goes, because who's that guy? Is it Frank, the new person that...
Frank? Ryan?
Oh, Ryan. He goes, I want to show you a new cupcake sandwich. And Molly goes, damn it, I was going to show you all a cupcake sandwich.
Yes. And then Whitney turns to Molly and he goes, that's the last thing you need. To which I'm like, where was the outrage from the table? Patricia goes, Whitney...
No, everyone... Yeah, no, there should have been more outrage, but everyone was shocked, I mean, like...
But,
Shep...
not enough. I would have been like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
She goes, oh, you're calling me fat. And he goes, I'm not calling you fat. But then, like, 1 second later, he says that she eats like a big back. Like as in a gorilla? Is that what that means?
I thought he said you're eating that cupcake like a Big Mac.
Oh. I need to keep those captions on, I guess.
Remember, I got on the Patreon, I got something wrong with the subtitles. But anyway, yeah, no, I think I don't know, because he was drunk off his ass on Pappy Van Winkle's or whatever. But I was like, this is such a this is so real, and this is the kind of stuff that I love Bravo for and reality television in general, because you can't script moments like this where people are cutting up cupcakes in half and then someone makes a very offensive joke about someone's weight, and I was almost like, why are they ending the episode like this? Like, they normally end on very like climactic moments of like to be continued, and I was like, oh no, it's just going to end with a horribly insensitive, mean thing that Whitney, the executive producer of this show, said about a new cast member.
I know. Pat's like, I've given up on him or whatever, which I'm like, honestly, at this point, Whitney is so old that he's like reaching like dad territory where like people's dads say like inappropriate shit and you're like, why did you say that?
Yeah,
and, like,
totally.
He's just like off the rails.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe that Whitney still allows himself to be seen in this light after 10 seasons when he is almost probably in control of almost every aspect of the show. He's like the Ken and Lisa of the show. I was like, wow, you're comfortable letting that, you drunk off your ass, making a horrible comment to a new cast member, and it's going to be like the second episode of this season is going to end with you saying something like that. I was almost like, I don't know. Yeah, it was a shocking way to end the episode to me. I was like, is this going to have more, like, is Molly going to be thinking about this for a long time? Is Whitney going to have to account for this?
Right. I feel like he should be more worried about sullying the need for him and his mom, because like I said before, it really doesn't make too much sense that these younger people keep going to brunches at this 80-year-old woman's house.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of weird. So if like he's an asshole, it's like, why do you hang out with them?
True. Yeah, I don't know why I'm more forgiving of Patricia and Whitney being on Southern Charm than I am with Lisa Vanderpump's very ham-handed ways of trying to be on Vanderpump Rules. I think because Patricia never was like employing them, and then once the workplace is gone, they have no reason to be there. Like Lisa there was no reason to ever meet with Lisa again when she didn't work there. But because Patricia's just like a notable person in the universe there, it makes sense that they have a couple gatherings a year there. It just, I don't know why it's more believable to me to still keep Patricia and Whitney in the mix. But yeah, I can see why it doesn't make any sense anymore.
Right. I was talking to someone, my friend at the gym, and he called Lisa like the wizard, basically, like, or like, like in the sense that you have to like kiss the ring, or, and I feel like Patricia is like the wizard of Charleston, and like Madison knows. I think Madison is just actually friends with her because she did her hair for so long, but she knows the level of respect needed.
Yes.
So whenever anyone disrespects her, it's like particularly horrifying because the main players know how they're supposed to act.
Totally.
Yeah.
So this was a huge shock to me, because I was really thinking the Patricia calling her a bitch thing was like going to be the full, like, I was like, this full season is going to be about that. But I guess now when Craig says I'm an embellisher and a storyteller, like, that's going to be because everyone's going to accuse him of lying about everything that JT said. Probably. Yeah.
I would love if this season turned into like, oh, like, what the fuck is wrong with Craig season?
Yeah. Well, there's glimpses of that, because I know that Austin and Shep are going to take him to task for pretending he's above them with Sewing Down South. Like, he can't chug beers with them or anything because it's going to ruin his image. So there might be a little bit of that.
I'd be curious to know what Paige thinks about the bitch gate. If like, would she be like, why did you say that?
Yeah, probably. Probably that exact reaction. Just like, what were you thinking? And he would just be like, I was really sick.
Right. He looked really shitty. I was like, I was like, if you're not hungover, then you really just look like ass.
Yeah.
And then so next week there's the new girl is introduced who has hooked up with both Shep and Gaston. And Taylor meets Shep's new girlfriend at the doggy party. And we get Madison versus JT.
Oh, I cannot wait. And I also wanted to note that I looked up that whiskey that Whitney was drunk as hell off, and it was $2,000 a bottle.
It's expensive.
Have you ever had any
Pappy?
Pappy Van Winkles?
I don't think I've tasted it, but I've been with people that are like it.
Really?
It's famous.
Wow, you know people who've had a $2,000 bottle of bourbon?
I think my sister and her friend ordered a glass of it after the Dodgers won the World Series in October.
Oh my God, that is amazing. I want it so bad. So maybe this Christmas.
I'm not a brown drink girl.
I would just, well, I mean, either. I'm not a brown drink boy either, but I would just, I want to know what a $2,000, $50 a shot drink tastes like. But
sure.
Anyway, you know, that's just how rich Whitney is. I was thinking about Whitney's wealth, and I was like, oh my God, not only are you the heir to a fortune from whatever the hell Patricia did, but then you also executive produced a show for 10 seasons, and probably Southern Hospitality, you also are maybe the executive producer of that because it's a spinoff from your franchise. Like, he's independently so rich.
Yeah. I wonder how rich they really are.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well,
like, she just like lives in that house. Like, her overhead can't be too much at this point. She doesn't really do anything.
I know, but the chocolate from Maison du Chocolat, I was thinking that's probably like $30. And then, no, they're rich, but oh yeah, but then they do kind of show, sorry, I'll end after this. They do kind of show Patricia's shitty CD player and is like ABBA.
I know. I was like, you never like zoom into that corner, but I was like, yeah, there's just like a shitty stack of CDs on that like vestibule.
Yeah. It was like Weird Al running with scissors. I was thinking,
Destiny's Child Survivor.
And he's like, that thing's from the Dark Ages. And she goes, well, that's just the music I like. I don't care if it's whatever I just said. Anyway, all right, well, let's say goodbye to our let's say goodbye to our little turtle cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs. It's been a rough one for Amy and I. Well, not really, but I mean, there's a lot of horrible stuff to talk about, but two good episodes to talk about. That was fun.
That's true. Yeah, we'll be back with Potomac, Beverly Hills, and goddamn Roni.
Yeah. And then, we'll probably be off next week, but I'll say that on next week's on the episode a couple days from now. And also, you know, if you do want to hear the full unfiltered raw, I mean, this was like Amy and I were like a comedian in the 80s, unfiltered, like the kind of the raw shit you've ever heard about James Kennedy. Go to Patreon. I'm sorry, it's a paywall, but that's just how Amy and I have to be nowadays. And then also, while you're at it, for $5 a month, you get access to over 90 episodes of Amy and I recapping Vanderpump Rules from the very beginning. And I'll just say, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to us, you know, as a podcast, or review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Please. Thank you.
All right. Sleep tight. And then in 2 more days, Amy and I will be back talking about all those other shows. So good night for now.
Ta-ta.
Okay.